Today's guest has over 30 years of experience in tech and is the CRO of AppFolio. She shares how customer-centric strategies, AI-driven automation, and strong organizational values are propelling her team. She also opens up about leading through change, building trust across teams, and how curiosity and communication play a vital role in driving growth. From sales metrics to company culture, leadership to technology, this episode offers a rare behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to scale a mission-driven company like AppFolio. I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to film this at AppFolio's Future Conference. She was so easy to chat with and already feels like a longtime friend. Today's guest is Marcy Campbell.
People, process, tech, innovate with the best. The Community Builders Podcast.
You know, AppFolio started with the idea of making things easier for property managers. And it's interesting for us when we think about the investment management marketplace and the opportunity there. We really want to work with our property managers and ensure that our APM product works with our IM products. It's great that you're seeing so much value.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting that when you started with a system of record, really looking at our software as a way to have one place for all of the things that you need to collect and the actions you need to take. And I think that creates an enormous amount of operational efficiency, which is part of your case study. I loved your case study. It was cool.
Thank you. Yeah, the having everything in one place too gives you a great reporting because you could pull reports from the maintenance side of the house, the leasing, the general ledger, and just all the data can aggregate into one location. So it helps us from a leadership perspective make better decisions from a 30,000 foot view. The access to the data is incredible. The fact that it's really easy for our residents too, especially our prospects, being able to go on the website, fill out an application within a couple minutes, that guest card populates, then we can run the AI to engage with that prospect if we can't quite get to them in time. It makes it the funnel of a prospect to an application, to an approved application, to moving in, all that information flowing to our maintenance techs so they can get the unit turn ready. It's just a great one-stop shop for all of our property management needs.
Yeah, and you mentioned AI. With our RealmX products, we're really moving into providing a system of action.
Yeah.
This is an area where you can take your system of record and be able to then tell the system to do things that will add real value for your company. And that value becomes an accelerator for you, for your investors, for your property managers, for your customers, and allows for you to then do more performance management and to do higher level tasks. So we're pretty excited about having you as a customer, having you take the journey with us, and the things that we can do together in the future.
Yeah, in regards to AI, one of the, in the sales pitch about purchasing AppFolio, Michael Gordon mentioned, hey, we have a vision that in the future, one property manager can manage 1,000 units with AI. And we firmly believe in that.
That's great.
Because we do see things like automating follow-up, voice AI on phone calls, maintenance techs being able to hit a button and the AI can automatically follow up with a vendor to make sure the work was completed, they execute on the work. And if they need an invoice, we can request an invoice. It's just, there shouldn't, that manual back and forth with either a prospect or a vendor, it's great to see AppFolio use AI to automate that process.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in the future, I think you're going to be able to do things like say, let my leasing process go faster and have AI actually pick those things up without having to go step by step and manual to manual. And so really excited about where we're headed. But I think, you should be in sales here.
I do have a sales background.
I know,
Yeah, no,
it's so great.
I guess regarding your vision for AppFolio, do you mind talking to us a little bit about that and how you see the next 5 to 10 years going?
Oh yeah, I mean, we really think we're going to be the platform where real estate comes to do business. And we are moving in a direction where we're allowing for that to happen every year. it is really important to us to be connected to the property managers, and the property managers become the influencer for us to get to the rest of the ecosystem. So we're working with property managers to get to investors and also to get to residents, and we believe that eventually brokers and to vendors. And we think that when you serve the property manager correctly and you serve them in a way that's a force multiplier for the ecosystem, everybody wins.
Yeah, I would actually like to kind of go down that path of the partner ecosystem. That's one great thing about AppFolio is that you have all of your stack integration partners. We have a few of them, for example, Opinion, PropStrata. But do you mind talking to us about your vision of the partner ecosystem and what that looks like?
Yeah, I think we just got started with the partner ecosystem. You know, our stack partners provide a great deal of value to our customer base, and they allow for them to do and expand their businesses in ways that may amplify the value of our platform. And so when you're having a platform, what you want to do is build out enough partners so that the ecosystem thrives, and allowing for a place where everybody in real estate wins, right? We're never going to build every single feature and every single function, and there's some areas where we just don't want to do that. We have great partners who can allow you to expand your business and meet your needs where you live. The funny thing about, you know, when I first joined AppFolio, you know, it's real estate. Like, everybody knows real estate, but that's not actually true. It's a very nuanced business. You know, there are multiple different types of properties, and there are different business models. And one customer I'll talk to you about your business model will be very different than someone I had breakfast with earlier. And our stack partners allow for us to flex and be agile and be adaptable in those environments, because we can actually allow for people and property managers and our customers to build their businesses in a way that they want to.
That's great. Out of curiosity for our listeners, what is the day in the life of a CRO like? Do you get to eat lunch, or does that?
No, there's usually like 3 o'clock. I'm like, wow, where was lunch? No, I don't get to eat lunch much. The day in the life, okay. The first thing I do is check in with customers. You know, I own sales, operations, CS, and support for AppFolio. And so for me, the customer interactions are the most important thing from the sales perspective, but also from the supports perspective. You met Ganeet in the hallway. He owns our care organization. So very aware of, like, are there escalations? Are there things I should be aware of? What are the communications that are coming from our customers? And spending the big part of my morning doing that. I'm happiest when I'm with customers. As you know, being in sales, like, that's my background. It's just where my happy place is. I think the rest of my day, we were very metrics driven. When I got here, we put in a number of different systems, including AI systems, that allowed for us to track and measure the entire customer life cycle. And so I've been spending a lot of time with the operations team, with the marketing team, with the support team, and connecting the entire go-to-market machinery so that we could determine, you know, where a customer was in that life cycle and where we could add the most value. And so a lot of that is strategy, but also laying the tracks for scale. And I spend a lot of time thinking about scale, thinking about the next 5 years, like managing the team, ensuring that the team is working at full performance. They have the resources they need, they have the products they need, they have the systems they need.
Out of curiosity, what sort of metrics are you looking at?
The metrics that we use are around our time. So there's time, from a customer perspective, there's time to value. From an internal perspective, it's really, you know, throughput, sales cycles. We look at retention rates, we look at cancellation rates, we look at first-time response. We also look at employee load. So it's about how each employee are they maximizing the amount of work that they're doing, how effective are they overloaded, like what is the balancing act between employees, both in the sales process through attainment curves, but also in the support process through, call loads and queues.
It's great. It's actually, that's an interesting point, because me being from a sales background as well in sales leadership, we use a lot of metrics to gauge our reps' activity, to track pipeline for forecasting. And when I moved over to this property management developer space, AppFolio was really helpful because all the data was there, so we could start building dashboards to understand, what's the average response time per property to respond to guest cards, or how fast are maintenance techs actually completing these work orders, and then how many work orders a maintenance tech have? Do we need to load balance across the different work orders? How fast are unit turns taking? Is this vendor taking longer than this vendor? Maybe we should be using this vendor more and double down that relationship. So it's really interesting actually applying those sales metrics to the property management side of the house, because they really do go hand in hand.
And that's what I love about your business and your background, is that you've actually seen the full circle of being a customer and also being on the sales side. Mm-hmm. If you look at sales and customer success and service, it really becomes down to the customer relationships, but you do have to operationalize that. Mm-hmm. And so the operationalization of the journey the customer takes is really important, so that you can, when you scale, identify areas where you either need to improve or that you see as gold that you can expand. Yeah. And what's interesting is it really is just unit economics. It's about breaking down the steps that people take and ensuring that you can get throughput faster and you can provide value along the way.
Yeah. What are some of the key points of the sales cycle or the revenue cycle that you're focused on today?
The key points of the revenue cycle that we focus on are really about lead conversion, right? So BDR, as you know, to appointments, right? And then it's around, can we get to what we call stage 3 and stage 4 sales, which is I'm doing a demo, I've got a qualified opportunity. And then it comes down to depending on the segment. So we look at our sales organization in segments. So we have a SMB segment, a mid-market segment, what we call an emerge. I also have a corporate and horizon segment. And so our sales cycles are very different by segment. So I may have a segment where I can close a deal in 7 days, and I have another segment where it's 18 months. And those relationships and the change in velocity really does impact how we interact with our customers. And it's a trick, because you want to provide the best value to every single customer, no matter how large or how small. And in order to do that, you've got to use technology, and you got to operationalize so that the experience that someone who is a small customer is very similar to someone who has high touch, who's got multiple relationships with the organization, but they're very satisfied with the product experience. They do it through the product, and they do it through the systems versus through humans.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure a handful of our listeners will be sales reps potentially through Procore or AppFolio. What's one piece of advice that you would really give them to help them build those relationships, find new partners, and grow?
The question about the advice I'd give a sales rep coming up is an interesting one. I believe that the best thing that you can't teach a salesperson is curiosity. You have to have an innate curiosity around the world and how things work. The thing I love most about my job is I get to talk to companies and really dissect their business models. Figure out how do they do business, how are they successful, what are the challenges that they have, what are the opportunities they have, and can we help them in their business? And so you want to hire people who have that mindset. And to me, that's really important. I'm sure you saw that at Procore. We have it here at AppFolio. It is part of the culture of ensuring that our customer is front and center of everything that we do, because otherwise you're just doing a job. Yeah. If you come to get a paycheck, you can do that at many other tech companies. Here, I think the difference is you really want to be able to provide value every day and keep the customer in mind, and celebrate with your customers when they have wins.
Yeah.
And I think that's really special.
That's great. We're aligned on that because one of our core values is curiosity at Fuller Apartment Homes. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very important, curiosity is a really important trait to have. I don't know that you can teach it though.
Yeah, so our CEO and founder, Andrew Fuller, is one of the most curious guys I've ever met, where the latest technology, the latest AI, we're using Notebook LLM, we're using Gemini, we're using everything under the sun to help our team operationalize and work more efficiently. And it's great having a leader at the top, show that curiosity because it's infectious for the whole team and it makes all of us curious.
I couldn't agree more that having a leader at the top actually affects the entire culture of your company.
Yeah.
Whatever that leader, the traits that leader brings are what gets amplified throughout the organization. That's what leadership is.
Yeah.
And we see the same thing with Shane Trigg. One of the reasons I came to AppFolio was because of Shane. In my conversations with him and our CHRO, Elizabeth Barrett, they really set a culture that was very different than anything I had seen before. And that because Shane really cares about our customers, he really cares about the people, he wants to do the right thing. So that comes through to all of us, right? And are we living our values? We always ask that question when we have a hard decision to make. Like, what is the right thing to do? And I've watched him make hard decisions that I think other leaders wouldn't have made, but he stuck to the values. And to me, that's really important.
Yeah, how did you and Shane connect before AppFolio?
They found me, actually. They found me. Shane and I met over Zoom through a recruiter. And the first time we met, he was like 10 minutes late. And he looked like he was very distracted. So I said to him, hey, you seem really distracted. Do you want to reschedule? And he said, do you mind? And I said, no. And so we rescheduled, which I think made a difference for him because I was thinking about him and his, what was happening to him and versus, having to pitch him about who I was. And I really wanted to make the right decision. I'm really lucky in that the team I have that works for me is extraordinary. These are a bunch of A players who are committed to the business, and what they really needed was some operationalization of their systems, but some leadership too. And they need to be told that they could win, and they can win, and they are winning. And so it's always great to be part of that journey because it feels like you never know what your impact is, but when you start to see it come out in the numbers and the way the company is accelerating, then you feel like you're part of the team that's making that happen.
I love that story about you having the EQ to realize, hey, this isn't my time that shows, that's a lot. Got my handy dandy sheet here. I'm gonna try to find
go for it.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, let's do it. Yeah.
What is two parts. What is the most exciting thing about your new role at Fuller? And then what is the most challenging?
Oh, that's a good one. The most exciting thing is that every single day is completely different. Every day. I could be working with investors trying to pitch the next deal. I could be troubleshooting cameras at a property, pretending to be an IT guy. It ranges, the gamut is just so wide that I'm never bored, and I know that we're building something really special too. So every single day, even if it's as simple as relabeling a file in the Google Drive, I feel like I'm making a difference because it's a great team effort. We have great values and an awesome culture.
That's great.
Yeah. It's a lot different than working in sales. I love sales. I love building a relationship with my partners. I love managing a team. I love working in that tech environment. But when I had the opportunity to join my family's business and to build something special and help scale from 1,000 units to over 2,000 over the next couple of years, I jumped in the boat and been going for it ever since.
You get to do exciting things like this podcast.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
And thank you so much too. This is like, I feel so special, and to even have a chance to talk to you for 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah,
so,
it's really great. What is the biggest challenge that you face?
The biggest challenge is not knowing what I'm doing half the time and trying to learn every day and staying curious. I mean, I'm a curious person, but having to learn wearing different hats every day, you have to troubleshoot a lot of issues. A lot of problems come up in property management. You could have a leak over here. You could have an HVAC unit go out over here. You can have a vendor not showing up to do work here. And understanding the difference between the signal and the noise.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of noise in property management, which I'm sure everyone's faced. But what's the signal? What are like the 3 to 5 things that you have to do today that are either driving revenue for your business, they're saving money for your business, or they're helping you grow and scale your team? So that's definitely, I guess, do you see any sort of like that between your role, the signal and the noise, and how do you navigate that?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. You know, I think part of it is when you have a large team like I do, it's about enabling the team to do their job and giving them permission to make decisions that allow them to be autonomous. And that's a really hard thing to do. I'm with you, I'm a lifelong learner. If I'm not learning, I'm bored, right? I want to do something new all the time. And so what I love about the job is there's something new every day to do that takes me out of my comfort zone. You know, whether it's doing a podcast here or it's talking to customers who are going through difficult times, or it's working with marketing to build out some new go-to-market methodologies on the front end. I think the cross-functional nature of the work that I do is challenging. And yet what I find is if I can show that how important it is and then enable this great team to do their best work, the returns are just extraordinary. And so I get a lot of comfort from that, and I just feel really good about watching my team grow and individuals grow into new roles and do things that they didn't think they could do before. And so to me, it really resonates what you said about learning every day, doing something different. Because as I think about the first 18 or 15 months that I've been here, I don't think I've done the same thing over and over again. It's like, oh, there's new stuff here. And now I've got to learn how to do this. And who's done it before? What expertise can I use? How do I apply the learnings I had in my roles previously? And then what doesn't work, right? Like you come in with this, template of here is the things that work. And then you find, this environment's not going to work at all. Yeah. And that's a new process or a new thought process you have to go through to determine whether or not, I got to come up with something creative.
Yeah, I like that. How do you define, so revenue, obviously there's the number, everyone has to hit the number.
Yep.
But how do you define success outside of hitting the number?
So because I have sales and service and customer success and ops, it is much larger than hitting the number, right? It really is around, thinking about retention, right? Thinking about growth of our customers, the number of customers, thinking about customer satisfaction and the surveys that we do and the feedback that they give us. I also, getting feedback internally and externally about my team is really great, especially, when they go out of their way to help the customers and help our partners do something, and then that comes back to me with just unsolicited, they were really great. Those are areas that we look at. We also metric it, right? So there's a lot of points on the customer journey that I look at. I also am very aware of the development of my management team. So it's about who's got the skills to do the next job, and how do you identify certain successors that could take over your role, and what are the gaps that they need to do, and how do I get them the resources so they can stretch themselves and take on more for the company? Because the more that we do that, the better we are going to be as a team.
Yeah, that's great. How do you stretch people and push them in that direction? Like, what's your technique?
I think the first thing comes down to trust. So you can't, I couldn't just come to you, Will, and say, I'm going to stretch you because, I see this gap that you have in your performance. You'd be like, who are you? You're new. You don't understand our business. So it comes down to building trust between you and your employees, and the say-do. Like, I'm gonna do what I say. Do what I say I'm gonna do. And then you do that over and over, and you model the behavior you expect. And when you model that behavior, then everybody else sees that, and they say, oh, this is a trusted person. So that when you have to have hard conversations, they know it comes from an area of you're actually providing, you're telling them things in their best interest. The hardest conversations I had in my career was having someone tell me something that I didn't want to hear. And she couched it in a way that I could hear it. And that's really important, because I think you talk to people in a way that they can hear you. And that ownership sits with the communicator, not the receiver.
Out of curiosity, how did she approach it? What was her technique that resonated with you?
So I'll give you the scenario. It's a little embarrassing, but I was a rep, and I was in a public area where there was a presenter, and I put the presenter on her back foot. And I probably did it because I wanted to show everybody how smart I was, because I was a young rep, right? And so what she said to me, which really helped, is she started with, Marcy, I just want to let you know, I've never seen a faster reader in my whole life. Like, you can pick up so many different cues faster. They put a slide up with a joke on it, and you're the first person who laughs in the room, right? Compliment. Then it was like, but, or and, what you did in that room to that presenter was really inappropriate. And let me tell you why, and what it did for her, and what I would expect from you going forward. And I was devastated. When you ever get feedback, you're like, oh, I didn't know I did that, whatever. But I learned from that, and I trusted her because she told me something about myself I didn't know that was positive, right? And then told me something about myself that I didn't know that was negative. And that combination allowed me to grow with her, because the more she told me, the more I grew.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that story. It is one thing coming over to AppFolio is we have noticed the culture is really strong. We've touched on this a little bit, but how as a leader, how do you and Shane just keep the culture top of mind to continue growing and building new products and scaling and all of that?
Yeah. Thanks for asking the culture question and the culture of AppFolio. It is one of the most important areas, or the decision criteria that I have was joining the company. I know you've been to our office, but you can feel the culture when you walk in, right? Like, it's constantly a reminder of our values. They're written up on the wall. We really live the paddle as one. Customers are in our DNA. Do the right thing. It's good for business. All of those values are ingrained in everything we do. And so, to me, I become an amplifier for those values, right? And so it's about identifying things that people do that hit those values and align to those values. But the more important thing is making decisions, I said this earlier, making decisions that are aligned to those values, even when it's hard. Yeah. Like, when you have to make a decision that you're like, I really don't want to do this because, it would be better for me or my team if I did it this way. And yet you have to look at, okay, is this really paddling as one? Am I hurting another part of the organization if I make that decision? And so it grounds the entire organization around how to think about the work that they do, but it also connects us to one another, and it connects us to our customers, right? If I'm connected to your success, you're going to trust me to help you. And even if I have to tell you that something you need right now is not available, more likely than not, you'll work with me so that we can get you a way to improve your business, even if it's not the way that you thought you would do it the first way.
I'm sure it helps with hiring the right people too as well.
Yeah, and you don't. Yeah, hiring is difficult, and sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
You're good.
Hiring is difficult.
Yeah.
You don't always get it right. People are great interviewers. We have a robust process that has a group of people, and then we do an interview process where we take someone through their career. So for me, when I came in, Shane and Elizabeth did a 2.5-hour deep dive on my career.
Wow.
Yeah, where did you grow up? What kind of family were you from? Like, where did you go to school? Like, all of that, right? All the way through. Why did you leave this job? What did you accomplish? Like, it was very detailed. And then I met the other constituents that were part of the interview process. So I met with Lisa, I met with Matt Baird, I met with Chris Womack, and obviously Shane again. And then I came down and did a deep dive on strategy with Shane. And then I got offered the job. But it was a process. And we run that process, maybe not at that length, for pretty much every employee that we have.
Yeah, we do something similar. We have about, even for hiring a porter or anyone, we take them through about 4 interviews. We have a phone screen. Then we have, if they make it through the phone screen, they do a call with Juana and I, and we go through our values and we set the expectations of what this job entails. And then we do a second half interview. Then we do another interview, and then we end with Andy, our CEO. So we really take hiring seriously, and I like how AppFolio has that same alignment.
I think our values are very similar, and especially in hiring. I think it's important nowadays because the cost of bringing someone in that doesn't work is extraordinary. It's just not even the financial cost. It's the cost around the effect of the organization, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't always work. You're never always going to be perfect, but you try to get close to the mark as you can, because when you do bring in great people, they can do extraordinary things.
Back to the CRO, life as a CRO. What's one lesson you've learned from a failed revenue initiative? I'd love to hear about that.
I've learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
And hopefully you don't repeat them. But lessons that I learned from a failed initiative as CRO, I think you can't do it alone. So if you're going to try, the thing about being in sales and growing up in sales, as you know, is that you get paid for doing extraordinary IC work, individual contributor work, and you get to be a hero. And then you move into management, and that no longer is the case, right? You have to make other people successful. And I think as a CRO, being able to advocate that message across the organization that you have to make others successful to be recognized as a valuable contributor is something that I learned the hard way by trying to go out and do it myself, by trying to own the whole systems without connecting into marketing, without connecting into engineering, to making sure that you're aligned across the organization on big initiatives that you have so that you can do it together. And when I first got to PayPal, I was given a division in the payments area, and I had a lot of autonomy and I did a lot of things on my own, and that worked up to a point. And then eventually, when we had to integrate with the PayPal systems, there were a lot of things we built that were advantageous to the Braintree organization that weren't necessarily advantageous to PayPal as a whole. And so we had to rethink that. And that was a hard lesson because I had to unwind some things that we built.
Yeah, do you have any recommendation for internal change management, whether it's rolling out AppFolio or launching a new initiative?
Well, I definitely give a recommendation to roll out AppFolio for change management.
And your team's great at helping with that process.
Yeah. I think in terms of change management, I've done quite a bit of it in my career. You have to get buy-in. And I think your first line manager buy-in is really important, but you have to be very clear about the why you're doing something and why it's important to that individual, to the organization, and to the company. And once you get that buy-in, then you have to give permission for people to make the change. Because change is scary and people don't want to do it. They say, oh yeah, this is great. But then when you give them a blank piece of paper and you're like, okay, let's redesign something, it's a very hard process. And so you need to push people along and then measure that change and be willing to pivot if it's not working the way that you thought. Because you test and learn, right? You're not going to go, you're going to do pilots. You're going to do step processes versus going in and changing everything, pickup sticks, right? And be like, oh, I got to pick all this stuff off the floor, and how do I run the business?
Yeah. We're a smaller company, obviously, but we the way we rolled out AppFolio was that we had internal champions in different roles. So we had our accounting champion, our property manager champion, our maintenance tech champion, and it was the train the trainer approach. So we made sure our champions were on every single meeting, and then if any questions came up from the field, the people in the field would know exactly who to go to, and that was a really effective way to just keep our team focused and rowing in the right direction, but also having the internal people to help drive that change.
I love that idea. I think your approach to change management with AppFolio and these champions and having the responsibility at the end points makes a lot of sense. How did we do in supporting you through that process?
It was great. Top-notch support. I mean, one of the huge reasons why we moved AppFolio was just the relationship from the beginning of the sales cycle. We worked with Brooke, who she worked at Procore. Yeah, she's amazing. She was at Procore. I was actually her BDR back in the day, which is really funny. But she brought us on, took care of us the entire way. We had 600 features that we wanted to make sure were available in AppFolio, and your team helped us go through all of those features and tell us yes, no, coming soon. And that was a great way to evaluate the tool. And then regarding change management, we had Eric, who was our implementation manager. We have Chase, who's our customer success manager. And then we also brought the Balanced Asset Solution team in to help us as well migrate all of the data over. And it's never easy ripping out your entire general ledger and putting something new in, but it went as well as it could have. At the end of the day.
Speaks volumes about your organization when you're managing change management and putting in a new system that basically replacing the way you do business for AppFolio, that you would take that chance and that you knew you needed to do something different to grow your business. And that takes a lot of courage, I think. And we just wanted to make that experience the best possible experience we could for you. And that you would have no regrets, right, once you got up and running. I think one of the challenges, I own the onboarding team, I also own the support team, and it's really around how do I integrate that experience across the board from every segment of our customer so they feel like they have that team behind them and that they have the full breadth of AppFolio, the full weight of our company attached to their success.
Yeah. For all the implementation managers listening to this podcast, what would be your one piece of advice or your main thing to have them focus on?
Advice from my implementation managers, they're the bomb. They are the heart and soul of the customer experience because they're the first touch after someone signed a contract. And we've all bought things and said, oh my, should I have spent that much money and was this the right thing to do? So they're the point on the arrow that says, yes, this is the right thing to do, and you have someone here who's going to help you, and we will be part of your success. And I think the onboarding team does an awesome job of ensuring that each and every customer that we touch understands our commitment to their success. And so the only piece of advice I could give them is just keep doing what you're doing. We recognize the work. We think you're our secret sauce, and we're going to automate some of the onboarding processes that are more manual, but we will get better at what we do over time.
Yeah. one thing I noticed was Chris and Brooke on the front end of the sales. The way that our information moved from Chris and Brooke to Eric, the implementation manager, over to Chase, our customer success manager, it flowed so well through the process. We've bought other software where, we do the demo, we do all the discovery, we tell them everything about our company for hours on end, and then we get to our implementation manager and you're starting from scratch, and it's always so painful to have to recap everything, bring them up to speed. But AppFolio did a really good job of just, that information just flew right through, and we were never repeating ourselves, which I thought was really impressive.
Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah.
That is an area that we looked at, of making a seamless experience from first customer touch all the way through implementation and support. It is why I joined the company and what I'm trying to do. We've made great strides in that area. I'm glad to hear that it's working for you. We always can get better. We have a saying, better, better, never best. And we always have a way in which we can get better. But it is about the customer experience. And what we didn't want to do is have an implementation manager call you up and say, hey, well, hi, why are you buying AppFolio, right? And what are you trying to do? We wanted them to be fully aware, and we put systems together. We use Gong. We put systems together where actually all the conversational intelligence gets built. We also use Notebook LM, where you can put all the documents in and you can build out a summary and you can build out a briefing doc that allows for us to know what the customer's objectives are, what their timelines are, what their pain points are, and how we have sold them in which areas, right?
Yeah.
So it's working. I'm excited to hear it is. Thank you.
It's great. Yeah, you're welcome. On the AI front, out of curiosity, what sort of AI is AppFolio using internally to drive efficiency?
The AI that we're using internally, it's interesting because we're in this journey like everybody else, right? While we're building our AI for the market, which you'll hear about tomorrow a little bit more in RealmX, we also started very siloed, meaning sales was looking at, a BDR solution that was different than a conversational intelligence and a LMS, a learning system. And we have a new IT organization that came in and said, look, we need to start standardizing on this across the organization. We picked Gemini.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so we all got trained. We're like 100% certified across the board. People can build their own Gemini gems and work and use the product the way they want, but we know it's secure. We also just did a training with my team on LM Notebook, so being able to build a podcast, right, out of like a number of different documents is really helpful. And so what we're trying to do is have the building blocks of AI go across the entire organization, but then allow for best of class solutions for each one of the areas. We use Intercom for our onboarding and our support organizations. We have Salesforce, right, and some Salesforce extensions that allow for us to do some AI. And we're just starting to work with Qualified, right, in the BDR area, which is a little agentic. We're not quite there on the agentic technology where we're providing human-like forms for conversations, but we are doing more things on the web that will allow for better responses, better conversations with our customers in a seamless way that feels very human.
Yeah. That's great. We're using a similar stack, actually. We use Gemini, we're using Gems, Perplexity,
yes,
which is great. Notebook LLM is amazing for just reviewing contracts with, we also use AppFolio's leasing AI, maintenance AI, voice AI, and anything AI, we will use.
So you're part of our beta for the performers, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's great. It just it eliminates a lot of the manual follow-up that our team has had to do with either a new prospect or a vendor. And then the voice AI is great for keeping us off the phones and pitching or talking about the same thing about our properties over and over again. And it's getting to that goal, right? One property manager per 1,000 units. We're just slowly taking out those little manual tasks and using AppFolio's AI to do it.
It's so great to hear.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're in beta with our products, that you're just an extraordinarily progressive customer who's willing to take a leap with us and try things out, give us feedback on like what works, where the future is going. We get to build it together.
Yeah, that's great. And then one other little soundbite I'd love to hear. We talked about the AEs, we talked about the implementation managers. What would be your piece of advice for a customer success manager? Being in the trenches every day with customers.
The customer success managers, and some advice I'd give the customer success managers, they are in a particularly interesting place because they touch pretty much every part of AppFolio. So they're touching the customers, the sales team, what did you sell, or working with renewals, the SEs, they work with the operations team, the marketing team, right? If we're talking about expansion or providing more value from a branding perspective. They work with our engineers, and they work with our product teams. So, and our finance teams, basically. So they are the heart and soul of that experience. The advice I'd give them is the same probably as I'd give the onboarding. They're great, they're fabulous, we need more of them, just because their impact is so enormous with our customers. And we need to figure out how, not only just efficiency gains, but how do we use AI in a way that allows for us to digitize some of that value and take out the manual and rote tasks. And I would just say to them, hold on, because it's coming.
Yeah.
And I think the experience will show up not only for them in their work, but also in their experiences with customers. They're super important to the organization. I couldn't value them more. And I just feel extraordinarily honored to lead that org.
Yeah. Chase has been amazing. Every single beta that's come out, he's invited us to. He helped us put this together. He's really helped me meet more people in the organization, and he's really brought Fuller Apartment Homes into the fold. And it's great having a partner like that who, he's not just there for support. He's really there to make sure your business grows with AppFolio.
Yeah, I think the customer success team, they interact with all the executives, they make sure that we're aware of the needs of our customers and their interactions with our customers, as well as even on the scaled version of this, it's about being able to build out reporting on what are the trends we're seeing, and where are the areas of the product that people are, maybe not using or need to use more, and what is that experience with support. And so having that 360 view of the customer is really their job. And you have to be of a certain temperament, and you have to stay calm, but in the end, there's a lot of rewards and a lot of kudos to that team.
Yeah, that's great.
And Chase is amazing.
He's amazing, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Chase.
Yeah. What market trends or shifts are influencing your decisions at AppFolio today?
What market trends are influencing our decisions at AppFolio? When I first joined AppFolio, the company had gone through, the interest rate changes. The market was not growing as fast as it had before. And so we really started to look at how do we become more efficient? How do we drive more value to the market in a way that allows for us to continue to expand? And so that was really the focus. I think as the market is starting to change and possibly expand, for us it's really around how do we make our property managers successful so that they then can be a force multiplier for us to get to residents who use our services through the property manager, right? And investors who use our services with our APM product. And instead of seeing property managers as part of the ecosystem that we sell to, we really see property managers as the funnel for us, the distribution mechanism for us to reach that market, and that market just becomes explosive.
Yeah, I appreciate your business model, how you charge us on a per unit base, but there's also ways you can find revenue from either your insurance or from ACH payments and little things that really help grow the business. So
yes, and growing your business is really important to us, and that's where if we do our job right, we end up not only giving you a system of record, and we give you, a system of action with RealmX, and then we give you a system of performance where you can actually expand your business through the technology you provide so that you can build you a system of growth. Yeah. And that last part that you said is the system of growth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
exciting
awesome.
stuff.
Well, that's great to hear. And thank you so much again for this podcast and hanging out.
It was fun.
I know you have a lot going on. There's a lot of customers that probably want to meet you, but you've spent a whole hour with us, and we really
Always.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
so
I really
so
appreciate you too. Thanks,
yeah,
Will.
Of course,
it's great.
Of course.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much for checking out the Community Builders podcast. If you enjoyed the content, please follow along on LinkedIn, Spotify, YouTube, wherever it might be. And we're looking forward to doing some more of these. All right, everyone. Have a good one.
People, process, tech, innovate with the best. The Community Builders Podcast.